So right now we're on the Pro Wrestling Enforcer 2025. One of our first guests here joining us on Zoom is from North Carolina Pro Wrestling, handsome Nick Hamrick on the PWE Report. And also joining us is his manager, Dick Vickers, here on the show. And they are here to talk about what they've got cooking for 2025. They've been wrestling around that area. They've also been getting exposure with OVW Wrestling as well. And so we welcome them back. We welcome them here for the first time on the PWE Report. And also for Nick, he was just in the Nightmare Rumble, lasting over 30 minutes. So we'll talk about that because that's an incredible feat for any athlete to put themselves through as well. And we welcome them both on the PWE Report. Nick, welcome on, of course. And, of course, Mr. Dick Vickers, welcome on PWE Report as well. How are you both doing today?
Yeah, thank you. Doing good.
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
Oh, no problem. It's my pleasure. I wanted to just talk about professional wrestling as a lifestyle, and I'm glad you guys are doing well. And it looked like you guys are definitely in shape for a big year. But when you talk about the lifestyle, how much has it benefited you in your life?
I'll take this one first. It's benefited me greatly. I mean, we set out a plan about 5 years ago, and we're just hitting year 5, and so we're on course for that plan, and the trajectory is, we still believe the best is yet to come, and so we're excited for that. But I mean, so as far as the money comes, right? The money comes when you get signed, and though we're not there, we haven't reaped those benefits yet. We've gotten tons of benefits from, local sponsors, from, Hall of Famers in the business. And then, this lifestyle has allowed me to meet a beautiful woman that is now my girlfriend. And life has just been great the past year. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is tremendous sacrifices, and sometimes it is very frustrating. You just want to scream. But at the same time, if this business is in you, like if you were born to do this, you have nowhere to run. This is who you are. You just embrace it and take the good with the bad and the ugly.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's a great answer. I mean, it seems like you've not have to just not only dedicate yourself inside the ring or at training, but outside of the ring as well. It's just so many hours you have in a day, and you have to dedicate, a good portion of that to this business.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure Ada can contest to this. I mean, I have a son, so balancing personal life and wrestling, it becomes incredibly hard. And I know he's got family and people at home that care about him tremendously, and it gets very hectic when every weekend you got shows. During the week you're trying to do promos, you're trying to do podcasts, you're trying to train, you're putting together ideas, and it just, you really have to have a great support system at home to balance that, and people who understand that this is who you are.
Definitely. And I appreciate you guys giving me that insight. Talk about being a manager, if you can, for Nick Hamrick. How exciting is this? But also, how do you manage the crowds and the interactions as well?
I mean, it's a tough balance because with the crowds, you don't want to spend too much time with them. They're trying to heckle you and get in your face. A lot of times, some of them want to be part of the show too. But it is exciting. Try to, good product. I like the old style heels. I love Gary Hart. I love, Jim Cornette. A lot of those managers, because I feel like we bring like that old style to that. I feel like Nick's more, an old style wrestler, so having a manager fits that really well. But I mean, it's something I enjoy, and I think that it really adds something to that, because it's not every day that you have a manager with a wrestler, especially one that's decently good.
For sure. Talk about that key role. It's missing today from pro wrestling for the most part.
I was trying to think of where the drop off of the managers were, because they were a big part in the 80s and going into the 90s, and it seems like into the aughts, there's really haven't been that many managers. There's some now, in AEW and WWE. They're trying to bringing it back a little bit, but not like it was, in the 70s and the 80s.
For sure,
So,
for sure. And you manage any other professional wrestlers at this point, or?
no, just Nick.
Okay.
That's it.
Sure, that's enough.
It takes up all my. I don't have time to do anybody else, and that takes up all my time to manage Nick.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely keep him busy.
And like when you go back and you just look at the OVW Nightmare Rumble, like moments like these, do you have time to like, oh, I can go back and remember it, because it just seems like it's always about the next moment, the next match, the next show. So do you ever get to like smell the flowers and just like, oh, I get to remember this and take it in?
Yeah, I mean, you try, you got to. I mean, that was a big deal. It was my first ever pay-per-view, and I told Dick, I said it's pretty cool. Last year, the first show of the year was an independent promotion in Ohio. And it was a great show. Don't get me wrong, but you want to keep the trajectory, like I said, upward and onward. And now this year, the first show of the year is a pay-per-view, and I really didn't know what to expect. There's so much great talent at OVW, and they're pulling wrestlers from NWA Exodus, from EC3's group. So there's just a lot of competition there, and so luckily I've the opportunities they've given me, I've been able to do well with. But at the same time, I try to stay humble. It's a dog eat dog business, and I've been there. I've been to so many places to where I think I know what I'm doing, and then the script got flipped, changed at last minute. And that's a challenge, but you try to rise to those challenges. So when I came there, and to be able to last 35 minutes with those guys, it showed me, I can definitely go with the best of them. And, I do have this weekend off. It's probably my last weekend off for a long time, several weeks. It has been nice to kind of just walk around. I was like, man, yeah, I really did that. Yeah, I almost won. I think I was like one of the last 8 competitors in there. So we had a shot.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what wrestlers need to do, is just like, smell the roses that say, oh, I get to watch and, relive, some of this stuff. Like, especially with that was actually on YouTube. So it wasn't like recorded and you don't know when it's coming out. It was, I mean, not YouTube, but pay-per-view, like you said, pay-per-view.
And the thing is that, there's no off season in this sport. It's not like football and baseball. And like, I know things slow down around the holidays, but like me and Dick have made it our goal to like, we don't have an off period, and I remember he had he tries to go to most of the shows with me, but there was a couple weeks where he couldn't make it, and he was like, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a couple weeks off. You drug me all over. So I mean, this nature of this business, I mean, you're just all over everywhere, and it gets tiring. So there's not very many checkpoints to stop and smell the roses. So this one was nice.
For sure. And then I want to ask you, Nick, about how much you enjoy your interaction with the fans. Like, is there any particular memorable situations, and how much do you feel like it's like kind of like improv. You're kind of, playing off of each other, right?
No, for sure. I mean, there was the North crowd versus the South of the United States are completely different wrestling crowds. And I always find it really, really fun because I'm based in the South. It's where most of my audience is. But when I get to go up north, like Delaware or Pennsylvania, or even we got to go to DC a few weeks ago. The fans there, man, when they heckle you, they really lay it in. It is, I don't know how it is in Chicago. I haven't had the pleasure of being there yet, but man, they get into it and they don't hold back. It's kind of your ECW crowd. And so I remember there's this one specific time I'm getting ready to take this, hometown hero guy in Delaware and DDT his leg. and I can't remember exactly what the person yelled, but they have been getting to me all match. And yeah, I normally don't cuss in the ring. You know, it's just kind of like I don't have to.
Right.
It's just there's plenty of other material there that the
Sure.
audience, your opponent gives you, and I just looked square at him. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I just looked right at him. It was like,
You're
F
fine.
you. Yeah, and just DDT'd him, man. You could have heard a pin drop after that. Everybody in the building, just the air got sucked out. I was
Right.
like, you know, sometimes you got to let the fans know this is my building, this is my stage, I'm in control. But AD, he's the one with the stories, man. He's on the outsides, in and out soap and getting it thrown back at him. So
Oh, wow.
more of those stories than I do.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Dick, you tell us any memorable situations involving you and the fans. Go ahead.
I mean, I was for a while. I did have like the hotel soaps, and I would like throw them out, and they would throw them back. I mean, it's just good, like little heat, break the ice with them. I don't know. There's a lot. They've just yelled, "Come at me." Um, More so, like little kids will definitely get into it and just yell and try to like you see like their dads or try to hold them back a little bit. I've given typical stuff like counterfeit money to well, I guess fake money to them, and they've tried to go to the concession stand and buy food with it, and been told not to. Some guy apparently used it at a speedway at a gas station, and he said he wanted to beat me up because he almost went to jail because of me that I gave him a fake $100
Wow.
bill. But they look like I don't know, they look pretty good.
Oh,
Like
wow.
here's like well, I got
Yeah.
the shit on, but
Yeah. I
yeah, it just
believe it.
says copy on the back real small. But yeah, he was not too happy. I don't think I've seen him. And I don't there's one guy this one in Ohio, he really, really loves Nick and he makes it known and he gets in our face every time. And it's just kind of like his wife has to be like, hey,
Right.
you can calm down just a little bit.
That's great. That's great. But no, like no hairy situations where they kind of try to get past the guardrail. Hopefully.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, early in my career. Early in my career, I was in, see, Logan, maybe Chapmanville, West Virginia. It was Southern West Virginia, and I was leaving the venue, and I was on my way to the vehicle, and a man reached in and literally grabbed my nipple so hard and tried to rip it off, and then I really thought it was gone. Like and it was one of those moments where I'm, going through a bunch of people.
Wow.
So there was a lot of people, and I just felt somebody grab at me and yank and pull, and it hurt like hell. And I just shoved it off and just kept going to my car and got to my car and looked at my chest, saw that I was bleeding a little bit, but it was still there. I was like, I'll
Right.
take. I'd be known as the wrestler, one nipple wrestler, for the rest of the
I mean, I still don't know why you didn't like him giving you a nipple twister, purple
I know,
nurple.
never seen that guy before or since, and yeah, he was pissed off though.
Right. And so, what are your thoughts on your opponents coming up in your upcoming matches? And do you have any like weaknesses you feel like you can exploit from them?
Oh, for sure. I mean, my style of wrestling, it doesn't matter who I step in the ring with, whether you're, 8 feet tall and, 500 pounds, uh, I'm going for your legs, I'm going to finish you off with a figure four leg lock. I mean, it's a move that has won so many matches and so historic that, I'm a student of the game. So that was number one. Since I was a kid, that was going to be my finisher because anytime I was ever in a battle with somebody bigger than me, you go for their legs.
Right.
As far as my other style, I can be a high flyer. In fact, if you look behind me, I've got the Super H title from ACW, which is Super High Flying Championship. You wouldn't think that of me because I do bring kind of a Rick Rude, Ric Flair style to the ring. But, you know, just like Steiner can do a Frankenstein, you know, I can do a Hurricanrana. I do a
Mhm.
missile drop kick off the top rope. And that one is really my secret weapon. I mean, it's won me a lot of matches.
Yeah.
I've been in there with a lot of fast paced, high flying, pound for pound wrestlers. And, you know, if I get the opportunity to hit that, you know, I honestly, I don't think anybody has kicked out from it yet. Um, if, yeah, I don't think anybody's kicked out from it yet. I think what's happened is, you know, they might have bypassed me or I might have missed it, you know,
Mhm.
but if I hit it, they're going down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And I'm sure as a wrestler, you are always trying to add more moves to your repertoire. Do you ever see stuff like maybe on TV and you're like, oh, I can't, you know, I'd maybe like to add that in or add my own twist to it, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just the other day, I was sending Dick some footage of things, and you know, and social media is great now because we get all these reels, and you know, you
Yes.
guys that are training, you know, they're not even like this isn't. It's not like they're stealing something. They're just training videos, and they're you know, basically sharing it with the world. You know, and
Right.
the wrestling community is great for that. And yeah, 2025, I've kind of retweaked my whole move set.
Mhm.
Everything's still original. It's there that I do, but it's amplified. It's
Right.
more. It's been tweaked and honed a little bit more to be more devastation.
For sure. And you've had some seminars with some notable wrestlers like Jake Chris. I know you had a match of him. So talk about, you know, getting in the ring with these guys and you know, learning from them in that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Christ, Rhino. I had the pleasure of being at EC3's a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell you what, you know, you go to training and you work on the foundation of wrestling in whatever school you start out. But I have really seen that seminars throughout your training kind of help refresh, retweak, because the seminars I've been to, you know, are 4 or 5 hours long. It's a full day of just you're getting slammed, you're doing drills, and so when I've done it, I usually take away 2 or 3 points from what they're actually speaking about behind the scenes, and then I'd say about 3 or 4 things get, you know, attributes get increased throughout that workout. So that whole next week, that next month, um, they're very beneficial. You just feel like you're more energized, you're quicker on your reaction time, your mental game, you know, you're remembering things better. So very beneficial,
For
especially
sure.
if you guys got guys like that teaching. I mean, EC3, Rhino. I know I'm leaving out a couple.
Nice, nice. And then you feel like that might lead to some opportunities one day, you know, working a TV match if you haven't done that already. Like, you know, like for like a bigger company like TNA or WWE or AEW.
Yeah, I mean that's how you get into it, right? So you've got to have that foundation. You got to have that. Um, and of course, those guys will. It depends how much talent you've got. They'll see, oh, this guy's got talent. You know, they can work with him and mold him. But then you got guys that have been in the industry, you know, 10 years or so, have, you know, basically everything you want, need, and they're ready to go. They still haven't got that shot. And a lot
Mhm.
of times it's because they haven't been in the right place, right time, in front of the right eyes. And so that's what we've consistently been working on this past year is putting ourselves in front of the right eyes. And
For sure.
it's not just if they want to give you an opportunity or can catapult you to, you know, an opportunity. It's also to the sheer fact of like, man, this guy respected me. This guy thought I was good. This guy like would like to wrestle me or wish he could have. That that'll give you enough fuel to get through the whole next year.
Sure.
Um, it really means a lot when you have the respect of your peers, especially guys that came before you.
Definitely. For Mr. Hey Dick Vickers, talk about how is it like if Nick Hamrick is working a wrestler or and that wrestler has a manager with them. So how does that dynamic change for you? Do you prefer that way or do you not prefer to have someone else on the opposite
I mean,
side.
it does make it different. Makes my job a lot harder because I
Okay.
can't get away with everything I want to get away with. You know, I can't bend the rules as much with somebody else on the other side. It doesn't happen too often, I have to say, to give me really that experience with somebody with another manager. But I mean, I can't. I know that they're not going to be as good as me. You know, be cocky with it. They're not going to be, you know, a Dick Vickers. There's not, you know, I can't. I unfortunately, you know, a lot less cheating. I have to interact with them. You know,
Right.
maybe, you know, try to get my shots on them, or you know, sneak up behind them, take advantage of that. You know, because I'm fine. I'm really fine with them and the ref. Then, you know, I've got
Right.
another set of eyes on me.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to see you interact with someone like Frank the Clown. I don't know if
Yeah,
you know him.
yeah. I know. I'm trying to get Nick in an angle with so we can get Bill Alfonso. I'd like
Okay.
to work with him.
All right.
So
He's manages a couple wrestlers recently, right?
yeah.
That
Yeah,
he's worked with a
we met
couple.
him in the DC area.
Oh, okay.
So
Definitely. I hope that happens for you then.
yeah.
And then do you like anticipate like something happening that costs the match, or like maybe a you
If,
know the situation
if he
getting
knows
kind of
what's
hairy?
good,
Oh,
if
go
he
ahead.
knows what's good for him, he'll stay out of the way.
Okay, for sure, sure. And then I wanted to talk about how much you have to believe in yourself as this, as the character. Like it becomes like a part of you. Like even if you have a bad day at work, or you have things aren't going your way in other parts of life, you've got to go out there and you've got to be handsome Nick Hamrick, and you have to be cocky, and you have to have that confidence no matter what.
Yeah, I think it was more difficult in the first couple years because
Hmm.
my character, who I am, it really is who I am, turned up to 1,000. It's not like I just looked through a comic book and let's
Right.
try to figure out something what will work in today's day and age. And I didn't give a shit. Like this is me. This is who I've always been. And I got to a certain age where it's like you just don't care anymore. You're just like
Yeah.
screw this. And so when I finally decided to like go after wrestling and do it, um, I kind of had some matureness of the real world. I started kind of late. I didn't start wrestling. I'm almost 30, or I'm just turned 34.
Okay.
So 5 years now. So I was 29. Um, but at the same time, like when I got into it, I noticed like a lot of people were intimidated by me. I and believe me, I was not the bee's knees. I was not something great, and I had almost no muscle on me. My hair was short. It just there were so many different things that became handsome Nick Hamrick and the product of what it is today that weren't
Hmm.
there. But yet, I think a lot of wrestlers when they're starting out, they deal with the same thing. They
Right.
have something in them that others can see that they were born to do this. This is
Hmm.
just this is and you can't duplicate that. So like yes, you can get the great places and work hard and become great things due to that. But at the same time, like we had a lot of politics in the very beginning from local promoters and things like that. And I think that happens the more I've branched out and talked to wrestlers across the nation, I've realized that happens a lot in all these local areas. You have these wrestlers starting out, they're getting not the chance, not the opportunity. And it's usually because the ones above them notice something in them that is good. They can
Right.
take the spot. And for me in the beginning, that was really hard. Like I couldn't like understand like why things weren't happening. And then I realized, man, screw it. I'm going to do
Hmm.
it my way, and I don't care whose toes I step on or who I disrespect. If they don't like it, then they don't like it. And once we started doing that, man,
Hmm.
things started opening up. Doors started opening up, and then that allowed us to really stretch our legs and become who we wanted to be. And like evolve the brand, evolve the product into what it is. It's like there was a lot of things there early on that didn't become what it is today, and it only happened through trial and error.
Right.
You know, this works here, this doesn't work. Because to answer your question, wrap it up, that all comes to full circle now. I am who I am. I know who I am. I'm confident. I wake up every day enjoying who I am.
Right.
And the early years, it wasn't like that, man. It was a lot of, I don't know if I can do this. You know, like this is, imagine if you always believed you were somebody. And now reality is starting to make you feel like you're not. Like it was all, and that'll really screw you up in the mind. But at the same time, you can't quit. You got to persevere. You got to push through that. And we had a plan. We're going to see it through. And because of that, I no longer feel that way. You know, there's still days where you get banged up. You had a bad day, but damn it, I'm handsome Nick Hamrick. I'm a professional wrestler, and at the end of the day, I could die, but that is pretty freaking awesome.
Definitely.
Forgot wearing your seatbelt. But like,
yeah,
I think what Nick's saying, like to me too, in the beginning, it was a lot. Well, should I do this? I don't want to make somebody mad if I do this. You know, I have this idea for something. Should I do it? You know, what if they don't like it? What if they, you know, get? I don't want to make somebody mad. I don't want to make the promoter mad. But now it's just like, well, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to keep doing it until somebody, I don't like it. I like this idea. I'm going to do it until somebody tells me to stop doing it. You know, if they don't like it, they need to tell me because I'm going to do it. I just have that confidence to like, well, I'm going to do it this way. If they don't like it, they can come up to me and say, hey, I don't like this. Not that I'm like, you know, doing something outrageous, but, you know, trying different things or, you know, like handing out the soap. I started wearing a wig. You know, if somebody says, hey, this isn't working, I'll stop doing it. To me, I find all that funny, but, you know, I have that, you know, that confidence to, if it's not working, somebody will tell me, you know?
For sure. Definitely. And so fans that want to follow your career, let's say, how many times are you wrestling every week?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this past year, we did close to 90 shows. I want to say like 88 or so, and there was actually quite a bit. There was like 15 of them that were canceled. So we would have probably been over 100. And I actually thought we booked less than last year, but we booked about the same.
Okay.
So, yeah, and this year we've already got, I think without our home promotions, the ones we do in our local state, there's 3 of those. We've got already about 25 on the books. And, you know, usually I can kind of gauge how the year is going to go from that. Based on last year at this point, I mean, we should probably have over 100 this year. So it's exciting.
For sure. And then any special opponents you're looking forward to facing that you have scheduled that you can announce?
Yeah, I mean, we got some big shows coming up. I'll get to the opponents here shortly. The shows, I mean, we're going to be wrestling in South Carolina for the first time this year. Old School Championship Wrestling. They're a pretty nice promotion that has a lot of big shows there. I know they do shows on the beach. And then, of course, we're going to be working with NWA Exodus, EC3's promotion in Cleveland. That's the one we're most excited about because the NWA is it for us. That is our main goal. And 2025 is the year that we're already on their radar. We're already wrestling all their talent. Kind of, we just keep circling the wagons until they let us in. But as far as big opponents, yeah, one in particular, he, you know, I do have a lot of big opponents coming up, but this guy is probably the one that's right in front of me, right? It's the one coming up the closest, and it's all Shane Douglas, the franchise.
Right.
I know, you know, he's a legend and you know, probably a future Hall of Famer and all that, but at the same time, we have a faction called the Franchise Players, and out of ACW in West Virginia, and he's been the leader of the group for a long time. Too long, if you ask me. And let's just say that come 2025, this year, this summer, this spring, this is my year. This is not his year.
Yeah.
We're done with Shane.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can no longer build a franchise upon it. If you're going to build a franchise, it'd be on somebody like Nick Hamrick, not Shane Douglas. He's what is it, legacy? You know, he's a legacy now. You don't build upon a franchise like with Shane Douglas. It's with Nick Hamrick.
Okay. Well, we're excited to see that match and how that will unfold as well. As you know, Shane Douglas has wrestled for every promotion, and you know, that we can think of, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been friends for a while now, but all that's changed.
Okay.
It's time for a new sheriff.
All right. Well, that's exciting. That's a big time matchup for you. And when you you know, find out you're wrestling these names like Shane Douglas, you feel like, oh wow, like I can't wait to get in there. But just like, you know, I used to watch him when I was younger, when I was a kid. Does that ever cross your mind? Like, these are big names, big heroes.
Yeah, and you know, I've really had the pleasure of and you know, to be able to work with a lot of them. It seems a little surreal when you're in the ring. I remember I was in the ring with Ming, and I was just like, holy shit, this is Ming. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm like, I hope to God I survive this match. He's probably the only guy I was a little bit scared. Everybody else, you know, I'm handsome Nick Hamrick. I can handle myself. I got A-Dick in my corner. But Ming, I was a little intimidated. I was, man, I really hope I don't see him out afterwards if I beat him.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then, you know, talk about like when you're done with the match, how do you gauge your success in professional wrestling? Is it like the reception of the match after, or the fans, like, or kind of like people giving you a thumbs up in the locker room?
It's a combination. I mean, it's a bunch of things, right? So like, because not every crowd is the same. I have seen 5-star matches between a couple NWA guys in front of a shit crowd that was a fair crowd that knew nothing about wrestling and didn't appreciate it. Just, you know, was quiet. And you know, it's like, nah, I know that was a hell of a match. So you can't just go off the fans that one singular thing alone. But at the same time, I mean, you hear that bell or you hit the spot and you hear the pop. I mean, that pop is the one thing that doesn't lie. So like, you know, you can get a huge pop and reaction and have somebody in the back, you know, piss on it or not like it, and it's
Right.
Nah, man. Do you hear that crowd? They loved it. And you know, that's also worked the opposite way. There's been some things I didn't appreciate. I was like, that's stupid. But hey, it worked. So no, it's the fans, it's the feeling you get. For instance, you know, I know there's been matches that I'm beat up, I'm hurt. I'm not like injured, but I'm just sore. And I know I gave it everything. Like I left it all out there.
Right.
And I don't have to watch the footage. I don't have to hear the pop, you know, because sometimes as a wrestler, we're trained to listen to the crowd, but also too, there's a lot going on, and you can kind of lose the crowd a little bit. I think when that happens, you just kind of got to feel it, you know it. Like, man, that was a hell of a match. I know it. Nobody can't tell me that. You know, Flair didn't even have to watch his matches. He could tell,
right,
just by the way it felt. So I think it's a combination.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
great. But it's also good, rewarding when you have like a fan come up to you, hey, I loved your match, and maybe buy some merch, you know?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Especially
My favorites.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My favorite's when they always come up to you and be like, hey, I'm not supposed to tell you, but I liked what you did. You know, like I'm supposed to hate you, but
Right.
I really like what you did out there. That's always my favorite because they bring you like in real close, like they're going to tell you a big secret, and then it's just like I liked what you did, and it's like, oh, you could, told me perfectly fine anywhere, but
Yeah.
you had to bring me to this corner and get real close to me and be like, I liked you.
Definitely. And then when you look at what's up on the horizon for this year, where would you like to be a year from now?
A year from now,
Yeah.
wrestling lines. There's
Okay.
no other goal for me. I mean, I am. Look, I'll admit, everybody says things like this, and then the next question is, well, what if WWE comes to you with a contract? Would you turn it down? Well, I mean, honestly, probably not, because we got to eat, right? We know what it would do
Sure.
for a career. But at the same time, that's not my goal. That's not where I want to be.
Hmm.
I bring an old school feel to it. And from the time I was a little boy watching wrestling, that's all I ever cared about. Even when they were, in their lower end years and not as popular, I was still an NWA guy. And just to have my name in history books, whether it's
Yeah.
in a title or just, in matches alongside some of the greats, is just, to me, it's real then, right?
Hmm.
In this business that is choreographed and really, kind of lost that old art of old school, real wrestling, real sport, real athleticism.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more real to me than that.
Yes. Yeah. Tom Latimer is definitely embodies everything you say.
Yeah, yeah. Tom is great. I met him a month ago, and he liked my selling. He liked it.
Mm-hmm.
He I try to. That's probably I tell people like I got punch, kick, and I got a sell. That's what I got. And I kid, I got way more than that. But
Right.
Tom was like, "Can you do the Shawn Michaels?" We were doing the thing where we're going buckle to buckle to buckle, and the last buckle he wanted me to springboard off the bottom rope and flip over backwards, and I did it, and he was like, "Yes, watch more Shawn Michaels."
There you go.
Impression.
Wow. Yeah, and they have an NWA Chicago as well. That's
Yeah.
another territory. So it'd be cool to see you get that come up here as well.
Yeah, I definitely like to get out to the Windy City. This year, we have added many more states to
Hmm.
the schedule. I think I was at 8 states. I think now, God willing, at the end of 2025, we'll be up to 11. So we got 3 new states added.
Okay.
But yeah, we're trying to get out there. It's just slowly but surely, day in, day out, we're starting to make a name. People are knowing.
Yeah.
I go to places. Oh yeah, I know you. I've seen you. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I mean, the best way for us to get out there is to people say, hey, we want to see Handsome Nick and A. Dick Vickers at the show. That's the
Yeah.
best way to say, hey, I like what you're doing, but it could be better with A. Dick and Handsome Nick Hamrick here.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely plug you guys
Yeah.
on my social media and see what happens. We definitely love to see you guys up here in Chicago, and I'm sure even beyond Chicago as well. Do you ever think about going overseas or any opportunities like that?
yeah, we're working on something right now for Japan. Uh,
Okay.
Canada has been in the works for several months, almost a year now. There's 2 promotions that do a weekend event together, and I think last year something happened with one of the promotions, but basically they make a whole weekend out of it, and it
Okay.
would be 3 shows. So I do know that is on the horizon for this year, to go international with Canada. I just don't know when yet. I think it'll
Hmm.
be in summertime. And Japan, we are personally planning a trip to Japan in the summertime. And
Okay.
my goal is to orchestrate a booking of some sort over there with them, because that's every wrestler's dream. And to go
Yes.
to Japan, that is just huge. Even if it was a one-off match, and and I know that tons of wrestlers have, you know, trained hard and been in dojos, and there's a long line. So, you know, I'd be incredibly lucky if that were to happen. But you know, you don't know until you ask, right? So,
Right.
I got a couple connections there, so hopefully something can happen.
Yes, yes. I actually I do know of an opportunity. I'll message you about it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
It happens to be from some media connect of mine that she's had me on her show, and so I'll see if it's close to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait to see you, Nick. And you know, lastly, what are you grateful for most this year, 2025?
Grateful for this year. Other than my son, I got a 6-year-old son. He is my
Mm-hmm.
world. I would probably have to say my health. I mean, this business, to be able to do it week in and week out, and longevity, and you know, being 34, like I'm not slowing down. I don't plan to retire. I mean, I'm just getting started. As long as the trajectory is going upward and onward, and if I were to make it to the NWA, I don't think I'd look back. But it's definitely every match, every week, every month, I get out, you know, without a catastrophic injury. And what I mean by that is like something keep me out of action 6 weeks or more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, That's really what I've been most thankful of. I've gotten tons of injuries, but it's all been little things and things that, as though they've been very painful to work through, I've been able,
Mm-hmm.
lucky enough to not miss any time. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
but
great.
without my health, I'm nothing, man. I might as well retire.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure, man. Well, I'm sure it's tough to just keep taking care of yourself and you know making all these bookings and shows.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything you think you bring to these shows that promoters want to see?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you got a team of Nick and Dick. So
Mm-hmm.
that just, I mean, that got a great ring to it. But no, I mean, we like A Dick said it before, we've got that old school feel. Look,
Mm-hmm.
I look around at all the locker rooms right now. I see guys with tattoos. I see guys with beards. I see guys with long hair. I see guys with, you know, if they have long hair, they have it conditioned and in their face. I see guys with the whole paint gimmick, you know, dark, and that's okay. Whatever your thing is, that's cool. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't see is those old school 1980s, 1990s, tan, long hair, you know, tall, good looking, you know, no tattoos, just, you know, guys that you're like, man, they look like movie stars.
Right.
They look different. And you'd be surprised, you're not trying to brag, but especially being in West Virginia, it's not bragging. I'll go to a gas station and people are like, man, you look like you're from LA, or, you know, you look like you're in a rock band. And it's like, yeah, I'm a professional wrestler. And that's the way it should be in my eyes.
For
So
sure.
what may have been, you know, to all these promoters now, they're like, oh, I've seen that. That's, you know, I've seen that 20 years ago. That's no big deal. You're nothing new. Look in your locker room now. Do you see that now? Do you see a Ric Flair or Rick Rude? I'm not talking like a nature boy Paul Lee. I'm talking like, you know, that
Mm.
where it's, you got that vintage feel, that nostalgia feel, makes you like the Outrunners.
Yes.
That is why they are the hottest tag team now in wrestling right now, because they make you feel that. They got
Mm-hmm.
that look. And that's what me and A-Dick bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, I took it off and I shouldn't have, and I had on a graphic, uh, new school. What was it? New school heel, old school. What was it? New school.
Yeah,
I can't remember. What was it? New school
new school
heel,
feel, old school
old
feel.
school feel.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good tagline because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what we bring. It's new, but it still has that old, and nostalgia sells, right? Everybody
Yeah.
wants, you know, they look I mean, they keep bringing back the old guys. Why do they keep bringing back the old guys? Because people remember that. That's the wrestling they grew up with. That's the wrestling they love. If you can bring that to their shows, they're going to like that. Like Nick said, the Outrunners, right? What are they doing new? But it's fresh, right? It's different than what anybody else is doing, but they're not reinventing the wheel. You know, they're doing stuff people did in the 80s.
And also to second that, what we bring is tell a story. You know, I mean, you give me any subject of a match, whether it's high flying or whether it's just we can only punch tonight. That's the only move we can do. Well, we'll tell a story with that, and we'll get the crowd entertained. And I think that's missing a lot from today's wrestling is, you know, just get the crowd invested, tell a story, good versus evil. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
Well, that's just like what AJ Styles and John Cena said, that they thought their one match was so great because they didn't go outside of the ring in a championship match. Like that was their big thing, was we're not going out of the ring. You know, as simple as that. Told that story. They said it was one of their best matches together just because they didn't go out of their ring.
Right.
You know? And even like, you know, so the Bible, that's the oldest story, good versus evil. You have to do that, sold how many copies? If you just tell that story, you're golden. Right. And even, you know, with Nick having a manager, that's extra addition to the story. You know, we come out, we make it a big production. I introduce Nick like he's the star upon stars. Going to the match, you know, I might help him bend the, you know, you have two people to hate. You know, more than one, you have two people to hate.
Definitely. I think when I've seen you guys execute it so well, and, you know, just props to that, because I feel like that's something do you learn that in training, like how to work with a manager, or is that something you naturally have to organically build?
You just organically build that over time. I mean, that is 4 years of me and Adick being together. And, you know, yeah, there were things there early on, ideas and whatnot, but no, that is trial and error, honing the skills, being on the road, different cities, different opponents, different crowds, and finding out what works.
Well, and that's also like, you never think when you hear like a tag team, right? We didn't become a good tag team till we rode together. Like Nick and I, we ride, you know, together. We're together, 4 or 6 hours, 13 hours a whole day, you know, talking about what we're going to work out stuff, what we're going to do the next match, what we did the last one that didn't work, what we need to do this. We're always, you know, looking at to make us better. And I think that helped because, you know, we have each other. You know, it's not like, well, I'm going to go in, see what sticks. I'm just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. You know, I have Nick to say, did I do this? Did this work? Nick can come to me and say, hey, did this work? What happened? You know, there. What can we do better? We can just bounce that, spend 4 hours thinking of stuff.
I'm sure it makes for some very interesting car rides.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, and you guys, how are you traveling to these shows? I mean, are you getting flights, or you're mostly driving?
We're mostly driving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is the longest drive that you have for promotion right now?
The longest one I've ever done was to Memphis. That was almost 9 hours, and I drove there.
I think the DC one turned into that with traffic. Like that one was the Waldorf, Maryland one. That turned into like 9 hours. I felt like planes, trains, and automobiles. That was. But I watched Tommy Boy today, so I felt like that was more of a Tommy Boy than planes, trains. It was a very long trip.
Oh wow! So anybody and when that happens, you guys are on that long track. I feel like that creates that bond more, right?
It does. I mean, he has me in tears, either laughing or tears where I want to strangle him.
Man.
No, he usually always makes me laugh. Well, the last trip I didn't even have my phone. I forgot it, and
Oh
so
wow.
that should tell you. I had no phone for the trip up and the trip back, and so I just had Dick entertain me. I just,
Yes.
talking.
That sounds like it would be a fun time. And
Yeah.
for you, Adik, how do you get your comedy? Like, what kind of material do you use, or reference
I mean,
rather?
right? I just whatever. I don't know. I've always liked offbeat. I love Kids in the Hall. Just like I think you should leave now. Just random stuff. I love like comedic wrestlers. Like Larry Sweeney is probably like one of my favorites of all
Mm-hmm.
time. And then I feel like it helps because Nick is serious. I'm a comedian. I've started. I bought a wig, like a men's wig, and I've been wearing that
Yes.
because I've been, everybody that sees me, I've been bald. We put chains under it, brass knuckles. It gives something to hide. And everybody's been calling me, Mr. Clean this, Mr. Clean that. And then I come out with this ridiculous head of hair now. And just looking at people, I try to be serious with some of them. Like kids, they called me names, and they call me Baldy, and I like to tell them that the ravages of time will catch up to them one day. They'll look like me. That might go over their head, but I feel like their parents, they always get a chuckle at that.
Yes.
Try to think outside of it, not like, hey, you're fat, you're stupid, get on a different level. But yeah, I think like the offbeat stuff, like Kids in the Hall, I think you should leave. Like anything I watch a lot of like improv because that's all it is, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
to think quick on my feet, say something, do something. It's all on the spot.
Yes. And also, you have to worry about those wrestlers retaliating too.
Yeah. Yeah, I got last time didn't work out too well for me. So I tried to hit one of them with a belt, and they got me between the legs. So
Oh man,
it's something you got to look out for. I normally take the brunt of that for some reason. I don't know why. Normally the retaliation's on me, not on Nick.
Hey, we won that one. We won that.
Yeah, we won. Yeah.
You had to take a little pain.
They didn't take a very good picture of me afterwards. I'm still a little hurt physically from that.
Yes. Yeah. And have you guys ever been part of a stable before? I know you had kind of alluded to something about
the franchise players.
The franchise players. Okay. Yes.
This.
And how much do you like
this one?
How much do you enjoy being part of that stable?
No, it's done. We're done with them. It's over. New franchise players. They're stupid.
I enjoyed it so much so that we're going to create the franchise players 2.0. But this past year, we were able to win the 6-man tag titles, and then the tag titles themselves, and then the Super H title, and all of it was a result of me being the franchise of the franchise players.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see Shane Douglas anywhere in that. In fact, he was absentee every time. But when he was present, we have this fabulous Freebirds rule. So, others can hold the titles in our group and defend. And, I was off doing shows at OVW and a couple other places. And Shane stepped in because he's the leader, right? And, he lost them. He lost all of them. So, yeah, Shane, just stay at home, man.
Okay. Yeah. You guys are moving past him.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. Old news. Old franchise. The legacy, right? He's Emmett Smith. You're looking at a new player that you're going to build your franchise on. Emmett Smith, Troy Aiken in the past. Deion Sanders, he can only coach. Right. You've got Nick Hamrick now.
Yes.
I don't know football. He's not a Dan Marino because he's got his laces in, not laces out. That's what he's all about.
Definitely. Well, I can't wait to see how that develops as well. Is this just a stable only on one promotion, or is it across multiple promotions?
No, it's with one promotion, Appalachian Championship Wrestling. They're one of the
Okay.
top premier companies in West Virginia for independent wrestling. Yeah, so they have a YouTube page, and you should check them out. They got some great wrestlers. They bring in a lot of northern guys from Pittsburgh and Cleveland,
Okay.
and sure guys you've heard of that are on the up and coming scene of wrestling. So yeah,
Definitely.
definitely a good company to have in our backyard.
Mhm.
And then Nick and Dick, tell me any advice for people watching. We have wrestlers watching this that want to get involved in professional wrestling. People that want to train in professional wrestling. Like, what's your advice for them?
Um, don't hold back. I mean, like I said in the very beginning, you're only natural to be timid and and like kind of walking on eggshells. And I think it's just because it's such a bravado sport. You know, everybody's look at me, I'm the star, and everybody wants to be a star, and there's only so many, opportunities allowed. So in the beginning, you know, just like we're taught in the ring, make it count. If you're going to do something, make it count. Send it. You know, you don't half-ass something. You know, so I would tell the person starting out, give it your all, give it full force. Don't be scared. Everybody starts somewhere. You know, if
Right.
you mess up, who cares? Correct it, learn from it, move on. You know, there's a couple things I did early in this business that, like, I think back now, they're so small. I'm like, I cannot believe I lost sleep over that. And
Mm-hmm.
in the time, it was like, oh my God, this could derail me, and you know, oh my, what am I going to do? And it's just relax.
Right.
If this is what you want to do, it's not something that's going to be done overnight. You're going to have to learn to just embrace the journey, and it's going to be
Yes.
a long journey. And you know, here I am 5 years still doing it, and I feel like I still need another 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you just relax. I guess that would be my biggest advice.
Yeah, for sure. And then for you, I mean, had to be relaxed. You were kind of like in the ring with multiple people that you've probably never been in the ring with before, right? At the Nightmare Rumble. So that's kind of
Yeah,
like where you said being timid and walking on eggshells.
yeah, and I mean, now it's about a year ago, me and A Dick, we both we did a show and we kind of had the imposter syndrome. Like, oh
Okay.
my God, like I'm here, I'm with these people, am I supposed to be here? And then it's like, you damn straight I am.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta take that on.
Right, right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in the ring with the legend, the hardcore legend, right? Dude Love or
Yeah,
Mick Foley?
yeah,
Yeah, it's that had to
very
be
good.
fun.
And I didn't get eliminated by him. I'll say that my friend Jack Vaughn did.
Yes.
But handsome Nick Hamrick did not get eliminated by Dude Love. No.
Well, I appreciate you both being on PW Report. Thank you for being very
Yeah,
candid.
thank
And
you.
I just want to get you a chance, Nick, for you, A. Dick, and Nick, to plug yourselves and let us know the first show you're doing next weekend.
Yeah. So next weekend is SPCW. That one is in Lavallette, Tennessee.
Okay.
That they're a really good promotion. I believe Tom Pritchard helps out with that promotion.
Oh,
They
no.
have a lot of Ricky Morton, School of Morton guys down there. So fun atmosphere. And as far as what we got, tell you what, right here, you can go to our Facebook websites. We got
Oh,
action
wow.
figures. We got a lot of merchandise on there. We've got the T-shirts, 8x10s, and then of course we'll autograph them for you as well. But you can go to our Facebook page and buy those. We have a Facebook shop. The T-shirts are available on ProWrestlingTees.com. You just type in Nick Hamrick, it'll come up. And then, of course, want you to follow and like us and subscribe on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter or X, whatever it's
Yes.
now. And yeah, I think, am I forgetting anything, A Dick? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Like everything's handsome Nick Hamrick. Everything's our names. Everything's A Dick Vickers.
Yeah.
Facebook,
All it spells
X,
Google it.
Instagram, YouTube, all of that. I think that's what probably the second most important thing in wrestling, other than the moves, is having some presence online, to get your stuff out there, people to see it. So just like, subscribe, follow, hit that share button, do all that,
Yes.
get it out there.
For sure, man. I love your quote. The men hate me because the women love me.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it was a blast talking to you guys, and you're welcome back anytime on PWE. I hope to meet you in the future. And before I let you go, do me a quick favor and give me a shout out from my podcast. Could each of you give me a shout out? Is that cool?
Oh yeah.
All right. PWE report.
PWE report.
And hold on, I'm going to end this recording and start a new one.
Gotcha.